But yeah, shout out to Warzone maps, Urzikstan bunkers redacted for that change.
Yeah, that was the Urzikstan
Excited
change.
for that.
Yeah, huge. So anyway, that's it. Obviously, again, the most interesting part of this whole patch was the weapon balance changes. And I am excited to try some of those long-range options. Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that, for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We've got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are live! Boys and girls, welcome to the Dropshot Call of Duty Podcast, episode number 422. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I'm joined by Tanner, who's lied about getting a haircut. He's bald under his hat, so.
Okay.
He got a haircut in the same way people with male pattern baldness like him get haircuts.
Which is what?
They like clip the sides, the miserable sides. So they're not like long and disgusting, which I guess they should do, but
I shaved it. Yeah, it's shaved.
Yeah. Anyways, welcome to the show. Today we have patch notes and WoW Season 3 Reloaded.
Oh, wow.
And it has lived up to all of our expectations. Which is to say, not much. Not much. Didn't expect much. Didn't get too much. We'll get into it, of course. And with not too much, we did get some fun and exciting new bugs that are not being received very well by the community, namely tax sprint canceling reload in Warzone, which is a big deal, obviously, especially for the majority of the player base who uses auto tax sprint. That is incredibly annoying. So that's a big deal. There are some other things to get into. We're going to get into all of that shortly. But before we do, and then we have a couple little official leaks and some unofficial ones to kind of go with it on the next video game for Call of Duty this year, which is looking more and more like the Gulf War, the Persian Gulf. It's not the Persian Gulf. Actually, is it? Is it the Persian Gulf? What is it called? What is that Gulf that's like north of like Saudi Arabia? Like northeast. Idea. What is that ocean? What is that body of water called? Might be the Persian Gulf, actually. Anyway, whatever. We won't get into the history, but you'll figure it out. We'll get into those leaks as well. So before we do, couple quick announcements. First and foremost, welcome to our new patron. We got another one, I think, but we will thank you next week, buddy. You did it too late. You did it after the notes were done. So welcome to Steve M, our newest gold patron. Welcome, buddy. Very much appreciate that. King. Patreon.com/thedropshot. Go there. Ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and bonus episodes. Now, speaking of bonus episodes, we just did one. It was our patron Q&A, and it went well. I enjoyed it. We didn't get through many questions, meaning it was a good episode, because the fewer questions we get through, the more we're talking not about your guys' miserable questions.
That's true.
And that was the case with our latest patron Q&A, which I found fun and exciting. And you should go listen to it if you're a patron at platinum tier or above. Or you could become one, of course, and go listen to it.
Yeah.
And the main talking point, I would say, was that it's insane that people can't swim. Learn how to swim now.
Yeah. Or people join the Navy without knowing how to swim. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, do another branch, not the water one. Hey, if you can't swim, you have like 5 choices, don't you? Pick the not water one to join the military on, right?
Actually,
Yeah.
I guess what? There are really only 2 others that aren't water. Army and
that's
Air
the
Force,
most
right?
water one, but you're right. Yeah. Well,
Coast Guard.
Coast
Guard
Guard's
is
very
more
watery,
water, probably.
right? Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
Marines are on
It's probably
the water
Coast
a lot.
Guard, Navy, Marines, and then Army, and then Air Force. If you're in the water in the Air Force, you've got a problem. You've got other problems besides not being able to swim. Because that means also your plane has been shot down over the ocean.
Your jet's at the bottom of the ocean, yeah.
Yeah, so you might as well just drown at that point. So, anyways, with all that said, yeah, it was a fun and exciting episode. And we will have more episodes, obviously. We started very early this month with the bonus eps. Probably starting like next week, we'll start rolling out some gold eps.
We won't, because I'm gone.
And that's what I said.
Yep.
The week after next week. So keep that in mind. But that's actually going to kind of work out well. Nothing else is really going to be happening as far as new content drops this month. So they will be a little delayed, but that'll give us, number one, time for some more weapon balance to maybe happen. So some metas to shift a little bit. And then number two is it'll give time for them to fix the game and the bugs that are in right now. Because Warzone is, like kind of unplayable right now. So, by then it'll be playable, I'm sure. So keep that in mind. And if you're listening for the jingle, here it is. Activision devs do not.
Nice.
What did he say?
Okay. What's the button? There we go.
Jesus Christ, man.
I figured it out.
Thanks.
Oh no, it's a disaster.
Oh, man. You've lost it.
Just lost it, huh?
You've got the gray brain. That's what they call it.
The gray brain, yeah, the GP. W Gray Zone Warfare.
Okay. That
All right, today, Warzone. And multiplayer also. MW 3, Season 3, Reloaded. Patch notes. So, as we have warned you guys, amply, I would say, not going to be too much to go over here. The Season Reloaded updates for Season 1 and 2 were pretty sparse in the content department, honestly. More so than they have been in past COD games. And that trend has absolutely continued with Season 3 Reloaded to an even greater extent than Season 2 and Season 1, I would argue. So there are some things to talk about, which we will do. But a lot of this we've already known from either the original Season 3 blog post or the original Season 3 patch notes, or the Season 3 Reloaded blog post, all of which we've gone over. So we're going to skim through this little document here, both of their little documents, but we're only going to kind of get into any great detail on new information. So, which there is some of, but again, as far as like content, it's not too much. Mostly weapon balancing and perk balancing, I believe, and some stuff like that. So let's get into it, starting with the patch notes for multiplayer. And then we will move on to the Warzone patch notes afterward. So here we go. Welcome to Season 3 Reloaded. So yeah, I went live on Wednesday, yesterday. Here we go. Lots of words, big words. So we got the 2 new maps, Grime and Checkpoint. Nothing to say on those yet. Have not played at all since this update. Tanner and I have been enjoying Gray Zone Warfare lately.
Enjoying's a word.
I've been enjoying it. Tanner's just negative and doesn't like anything.
It's just not a good game. Just keep in mind, just remember this in 1 week when Raz is not playing it anymore.
Oh, I'm sure that'll
I'm just
be true.
realistic.
What do you mean realistic? I'm enjoying it now. I know I won't be in a week, but I'm still having fun now. What's wrong with that?
Okay, it's fine, yeah.
What's wrong with that?
It's a game.
Anyways, well, Tanner's been playing it and not enjoying it, I guess.
Correct.
So that's really wise thing to do. I've been playing it and enjoying it. So we haven't touched Season 3 Reloaded yet, but obviously we will soon. Right now, again, there are some issues we'll get into that are also keeping us away. But nonetheless, 2 new maps for multiplayer, Grime and Checkpoint. We've talked about them. We'll talk about them more once we actually engage with them, but there's not going to be too much to say. And then the new weapon is now out, the Ball 27 AR. So this is that bullpup sucker that's fairly unique because the first 4 shots are a slower fire rate than the subsequent ones afterward. So it's kind of the inverse of how the SVA works, which is that the first 2 bullets come out faster than the rest of them if you continue to hold down the trigger. Now, again, I have not used this. However, I'm seeing on the TL, this is not a very impactful gun right now. It's not very good. So
yeah, I've heard it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't know about a multiplayer, but I know in Warzone it's not good.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure it's fine in multiplayer, but if anything, I would imagine it would be better in Warzone because it has like the first 4 shots that are slower fire rate but highly accurate. That seems like a detriment in multiplayer with the time to kill so fast, and I don't need accuracy that much. Whereas in Warzone, that could like conceivably, in theory, be good, but right now it just isn't. So I would still level it up. It might have unique attachments, like the required or suppressor is a unique attachment you can only unlock by leveling the Horus, but then you can put it on all your SMGs. That might be true with the Ball 27. There might be some unique attachment that you have to level it to unlock. It might not be true, but that's just a quick note. Keep that in mind for all the new weapons we get. A lot of them might be worth leveling just for new attachments, which is kind of a weird, consequence of the gunsmith system we have now and have had since MW2. But another thing also, I think the more relevant point is they very well may buff this or nerf other guns or buff some attachments that make this good or have an aftermarket part or something, and all of a sudden this enters the meta. That has happened many, many times before, so I always like to level all the new guns with very few exceptions. But right now, not a top priority because, yeah, it's just not very good, unfortunately. So keep that in mind. And then we got some new aftermarket parts. So they've listed 3 here, but I think only 1 is in right now, which is one new one, which is the Jack Wardens, which makes the Lockwood Mark II Akimbo Model 1887s. It's good and it's pretty good in multiplayer, and it's terrible in Warzone. That's what I've heard and seen about it. So
yeah, same.
Okay. But again, I will remind you guys, keep your eyes out for the Jack Patriot, the M16 aftermarket part. It's not out yet, but it might come out like next week. I don't know. But it's good. It makes the M16 full auto.
Should be next week, yeah.
Which will be next week, which is what I said. So keep that in mind. That could go crazy because the M16 did also just get a buff like 2 weeks ago, where it has 20% less horizontal, vertical, visual recoil, and 20% less gun kick. So That buff combined with making it full auto might make this super relevant. Hopefully it does. That would be interesting. And that'll be coming out. That aftermarket part will be coming out next week. And then also the Jack Atlas kit, which makes the AMR9 a burst. Okay. That won't be relevant, trust me. We got the new modes, Escort, Minefield, and Arcade. So Arcade's the only one I have not seen yet, or I don't remember. Fight for control of weapons kitted with game-changing modifiers available for pickup around the map. All the while not forgetting to PTFO. Don't know what that means.
You never heard that? Play the effing objective.
Oh,
that's OG FPS game slang right there.
Interesting.
PTFO, yep.
Yeah.
Circa like 2008 right there.
Don't
man.
say circa. You're not an
It's
archaeologist.
like Battlefield 2
circa.
kids. That's what they used to always say. PTFO. They used to get real mad if you weren't playing that PTFO, playing that thing.
Playing that PTFO,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Circa 06.
Anyway, whatever. That mode will be... I don't know. Whatever. New events. Yeah. So again, we talked about all this stuff. Let's see. Okay, so this is another new piece of information, which I think is actually kind of interesting. I'm not as excited as some people on my timeline are about it, but I think it's a pretty cool thing nonetheless. Introducing weapon prestige camos. In Season 3 Reloaded, we're introducing weapon prestige camos, a new progression system for players to flex, blah, blah, blah. To unlock a weapon prestige camo, players must earn a set amount of weapon XP for any weapon of choice, including those carried forward from MW2. Weapon prestige camos are earned on a per weapon basis, rewarding commitment and giving those of you completionists a grind to keep you busy for seasons to come. Our debut weapon prestige camo is One Trick, which I believe is the name of it. Unlocked upon earning 150,000 weapon XP. It's a camo that's molten gold and it's animated, and it actually looks pretty good.
It looks really good, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it on Twitter. It's very animated. You can obviously tell. And it looks pretty solid, I would say. And then they also say you can expect to see a new weapon prestige camo in each of the remaining seasons ahead. So there'll probably be 300,000 weapon XP total for the season 5 weapon prestige camos, which is pretty interesting.
Wait, yeah, how would that work? I just figured it'd be the same amount of XP for each weapon. Again, you just get another camo. I wonder if they're going to make it that way so it scales.
I would hope so, because, well, they wouldn't reset your weapon XP each season, right? So it would have to be a different total. That's what I would assume.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Huh. But yeah, I think there are 3 more coming. Yeah.
I also like that it's really weapon XP too, because this is kind of like the Obsidian camo that we got in MW19 5 years after launch. The difference is, though, the Obsidian camo unlock was based on kills, I think, or headshots.
Yeah, what was it? Wasn't it 1,000 something?
It was one of those two. It was a lot, though. But I actually like weapon XP better, because then you can do anything and be earning progress toward the weapon prestige camo, and you don't have to play a particular thing. If I was grinding for the Obsidian camo for a gun, I wouldn't play Warzone, obviously. I would go play hardcore shipment and get 500 kills per match. But that would suck, because then, I wouldn't be playing necessarily what I want to play. But if it's based on weapon XP, you get weapon XP for everything in pretty equal proportions throughout game modes. So I'm going to get as much weapon XP in a game of Resurgence, assuming I have my gun most of that time, as I will in multiplayer. Maybe a little less, but I think there's a way better system.
Yeah.
I also have no conception of how much 150,000 weapon XP is. How much weapon XP do you need to get max level on a gun?
No idea.
Yeah.
Don't ever pay attention to that. I skip that screen every time.
Yeah.
I want to say when it's like in the higher levels of a gun, thought it was like maybe between like 3,000 and 5,000 to go up a level. Not sure. But Obsidian, you had to play a bunch of matches. That's what it was. So it would be like get X amount of kills in a single match, X amount of times, which was
terrible.
like 125 times, 150, 200 times. Riot Shield was just get 750 kills. Launchers were just destroy a vehicle or kill streak 100 times. Yeah,
I
don't think I ever did any of the Obsidian camos.
You definitely didn't.
I don't think
Neither
did
I. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I don't even remember when it got added. It feels like it was after the game's life cycle.
I'm pretty sure it was, actually.
June of 2020.
I think it was year
so
2.
that's actually earlier than I thought. So no, it was only like 6 months after launch.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It also didn't look that good, to be honest. It was too dark.
It's also just like I had Damascus by then.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to run it anyway. But yeah. Anyway, I like this idea. I think this is cool. Although if you play Warzone, good luck. I don't know. I don't know how long 150,000 weapon XP would take, honestly. But it's kind of cool that, like, if you have all the guns max level and there's an event, for example, you can still feel like you're benefiting a little bit if you're working on this. I think that's neat also. But if you, like, primarily play Warzone, or Resurgence, which a lot of you do, the trick with that is that the meta changes so often. I don't know if you're ever getting, like, this camo on anything, with a couple exceptions. I would say, like, if you're Breadman, for example, then you're gonna get the Cat AMR. You're gonna get this camo even if you only play Warzone, because like snipers right now are kind of, we'll get into that a little bit, but they're by and large surviving meta shifts for the most part. But anyway, cool thing. Let's move on. Let's see. Multiplayer UI. Oh, so this is why. Increase the number of allowed favorite attachments from 10 to 30. Didn't know there was a limit at all. Did you? No.
I wonder if it works, though.
Good question.
Because I think regardless, it didn't work that well. Because I'm almost positive I never had a total of 10 favorited attachments.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I didn't know there was a limit. That could explain why when I try favoriting attachments sometimes it just doesn't work. But yeah, more likely it's not that. But either way, this is good, I guess. No one's going to have more. You don't need more than 30 favorited attachments. No shot. Like, favorite all the hipfire ones. Favorite the optics you like. It's like 2 or 3 maybe. And then that's kind of it. So, like, I don't know. Yeah. 30 should be plenty. So hopefully it does resolve the weird issues with favoriting attachments. That would be nice. So now we know. Let's see. This is a good change too, because this also pissed me off. Weekly challenges that reward an aftermarket part will now display the base weapon in the information modal. Thank you. Every single time I would unlock an aftermarket part, I would be like, okay, I have to go literally equip every gun in the game to try and figure out if it's for that or not. Yeah. Because it was not clear at all. So I'm glad they did this as well. That's a good change. Let's see. Added locked and unlocked filter options to calling cards in the customization menu. That's good too. And then some bug fixes. Let's do a little skim. Pros and cons are no longer hidden when viewing locked attachments. That's good for sure. Because then, again, like I said, like if the Ball 27 has some unique attachment and you're curious if you should bother leveling it to unlock it, you can go look at the pros and cons for it now and then see, okay, do I care about this? Would I want this on my SVA? That's good. So there you go. Let's see. That's pretty much it there. In Hardpoint, increased preference for spawns further from enemies and nearer to spawn points recently used by a teammate. That seems like a good change as well. And I actually think that's probably more relevant than a lot of you might think if you play multiplayer ranked, because that's like one of the 3 modes. And the spawns in Hardpoint at the higher ranks that's what Hardpoint is, actually. It's competitive spawn manipulation, and then you stand in an objective as like a secondary thing. That's how you win Hardpoint. Yeah. So this working this way is probably better. So there you go. Let's see. And a couple other bug fixes that aren't super relevant.
Oh no, kills without reloading challenges will no longer continue to track between matches. Oh,
they fixed it finally. They fixed it finally. If you guys didn't get your camo, you should have done it by now, man. Yeah, they did it. I didn't think they were ever going to fix that, honestly. But they did. So anyway. Let's see. Maps. Yeah, so they changed some things about how the maps work. Spawn points. New hard points on 6-star, which is not a good game map anyway. Cool, whatever. And that's pretty much it. All right, so now weapons and attachments. So this is for multiplayer. I'm not going to read all of these, but there were actually quite a bit of changes here. BP50, SVA, RAM 7, the MTZ 556. Looks like every gun in the game actually got buffed or nerfed to some degree. So you can go look at that yourselves if you're into that sort of thing. But a lot of it looks to be nerfs. Like BP50 nerf, kind of. I mean, it's hipfire nerf, so it doesn't matter that much. Same thing with the SVA and the RAM. And the MTZ and the Holger. Okay, yeah, they just nerfed the hipfire of ARs and some LMGs, basically. Got it.
Yeah, I hadn't read these yet. I figured they were making hipfire better on a lot of these, but yeah, no, they actually made it worse.
Yeah, yeah. Which again, I think might be kind of relevant for ranked multiplayer, because that makes SMGs more valuable. If you can't hit fire as well with your AR and you're playing like Hardpoint or something. That actually is pretty relevant, honestly. So maybe a good change. I don't play enough multiplayer to really know, but there you go. Some other things. Yeah. A lot of weapon changes here. Nothing too super crazy. The FTAC Recon is now a guaranteed 3-shot kill or 2-shot kill to the head. I hate that gun. It's the worst gun in MW2 or 3. Besides, of course, the Sidewinder, obviously. A bunch of other weapon changes here. RAM 9 nerf. AMR buff. Interesting.
Yeah, they buffed it.
Yeah.
Multiplayer.
Some other things here. Yeah. A ton of weapon balance, honestly. But none of it's like super jarring, it appears to me. So there you go. You guys should go read that yourselves if you're particularly interested. So now onto perks. I do want to read these because this is more relevant for everyone, I would say, and more interesting. Climbing boots. Remove this perk and apply its effects to all players by default in multiplayer. Wow. And what it did was increase climbing and mantling speed and reduced fall damage. So now just everyone has that perk by default without having to equip it. This is actually a very big change, because if you guys have ever tried shooting someone with climbing boots in multiplayer, it's pretty jarring when they're trying to climb up stuff. And it's very, very noticeably you climb a lot faster. I actually like this a lot for multiplayer, honestly.
Really? I was kind of thinking it's going to be worse in multiplayer than Warzone, if anything. Guess it depends on the map.
Yeah, it depends on the map.
I don't know. People mantling real fast on small multiplayer maps, that's going to be frustrating, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it, but I don't play multiplayer, so it doesn't really bother me, but I'm not sure. I wonder how most people feel about that, because I don't think that sounds very good.
Yeah, you could be correct about that.
Most people have aim assist, though, too, so it honestly matters a lot less.
Yeah,
it's probably something people don't even think about.
And then the benefit is everyone's now moving around the map way faster, which I think is kind of nice. True. So, yeah. You could be right, though. I think that is a real concern. I think they needed to just fix the animations, honestly. I think that's the big problem, and then everything else is kind of fine. But anyway, all-terrain boots added a new perk to the boots category, replacing climbing boots. And what these do is significantly increase movement speed, but it disables tack sprint. Whoa! That is a cool attachment. Or perk, rather. That's a cool perk idea. I really like that. I don't know if I'd use it, but it's a really neat idea, and it's interesting. Because it's kind of like the inverse of the, what are the meta boots? The, where you can slide while ADS. What are those called?
Oh God, yeah. What are they called? I don't know. I forgot everything multiplayer related.
They're not meta, actually, since there's Dead Silence sneakers, but
I was going to say, that's the first thing I thought it was the Ninja.
Tack pads, yeah. So tack pads, I praised these a lot when the game came out because it adds like a new mechanic on the back of a perk, which is that if you equip tack pads, you can now ADS while sliding, among other things. That's really cool, and you can only do that if you have that perk. I think that's really neat. This is like the inverse of that. It takes away a base mechanic, tack sprint, but you move, quote, significantly faster. I'm curious how much faster you move with these, because I could see these being worth using, honestly.
Yeah, I watched one little short clip that was like a 10, 12-second clip maybe, and it was pretty much the exact same speed as using, as not using them. So it was pretty much the exact same speed as like sprinting by default with tack sprint. But it's just you don't go between tack sprint and regular sprint. So it's just, you're either not running or you're sprinting.
So move
it's kind of
almost as fast as tack sprint, you're saying?
It's like, it was pretty much identical, yeah.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah, I would assume these would be really good in multiplayer.
Yeah, because you're also not incurring tack sprint to fire penalties. You're just incurring sprint to fire penalties, even though you're moving at tack sprint speed. That's really nuts, actually. Wow. That's really good.
The thing is, though, since everyone just runs Ninja, I feel like these won't actually get used that often.
Exactly.
Because everyone's petrified to have footstep audio in Call of Duty multiplayer.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Ultimately, I can't imagine boots that are ever going to be better than Dead Silence boots.
Yeah.
But this comes
cool idea, though.
fairly close. It is a cool idea. And if I was like if I was like a ground war player, I would run these anyway. Mm-hmm. Honestly, just to move around quicker and you don't really care that much about being quiet. It's pretty cool. So anyway, running sneakers improve sprint to fire time while using tack sprint by 25%. You don't.
Nice.
I mean, I guess, yeah, but if you have
that's a big buff.
Yeah, but you don't want to have to incur a tack sprint to fire penalty anyway. You don't want to find yourself in that position. It's like less punishing, but I don't know. I don't think they're very good. Stalker boots. Oh, here we go. Increased strafe speed is now omnidirectional rather than lateral. So now if you move forward or backward also, you will get that bonus to strafe speed. We talked about this fairly recently. Exclusive Ace discovered it.
This is one of those things where they wouldn't have changed.
Actually.
Yep,
yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, like all of these changes are great examples of Sledgehammer continuing to work on multiplayer and making this the best multiplayer experience we've had in years. Rather than what like Infinity Ward would have been doing at this point last year, you know, which is nothing. They stopped updating their multiplayer game in season 2 of last year. So this is pretty wild that they're making all of these changes still, and especially things like that, where it's obviously based off a video Ace put out.
For sure. Yeah.
I don't think people, you know, it's like Warzone is obviously so much more popular now. Like even for me, like I don't usually think to play multiplayer, but like this is the best multiplayer we've had in a long time.
For sure.
A very long time.
For sure. I genuinely have fun playing it when new content drops, like new weapons, and I have to level them. I'm like excited to play because I have something to play for, and the multiplayer experience is really good in this game. I totally agree with you. So, and yeah, they're continuing to improve it. So that's a good change. And this is another good change. Added walking smoothness benefit to Stalker boots, decreasing the bounciness of the reticle while ADS. So we talked about using these when you're like leveling or working on camos for your snipers in multiplayer. That makes this a way better sniper perk than before. Because you'll have less like idle sway when you're like strafing the corner.
That's a good. I didn't even think about for snipers. Yeah,
that makes it like really good for snipers. So that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So there you go. For like ground war and war mode, even if you're not leveling, that's like relevant. So anyway, commando gloves. Oh, this is not nasty. Improve sprint to fire speed by 10%. That's really good. That's really good. In addition to already being able to reload while sprinting. And then this is interesting. Added the ability to cancel a reload by using tactical sprint. So, okay. I don't see why they did that. Because what if I want to... Well, no, I guess you can't tac sprint and reload anyway. But anyway, whatever. There you go. Assault gloves. Improved hip fire spread while moving by 15%. Nasty. Really good for shotguns. And if you use hip fire SMGs. And I think what else they do is, what is it? Increased accuracy while jumping, right? Was that the other thing it says they do?
The assault gloves, yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and so we already hypothesized that they were like good for shotguns in multiplayer, and now they're even better for shotguns in multiplayer because you'll get 15% more hip fire accuracy while moving, which is virtually always. So that's really actually kind of nuts. Big fan of that as well. And that's what's cool about all these changes. That's it for perks, but they are, for a lot of these perks, they are adding further benefits to play styles that you would already be running these perks for anyway. So like I'm already using assault gloves for my shotgun, and they improve them in primarily for shotguns, for example. Or the stalker boots. I don't care about being dead silent if I'm sniping. So I was already running stalker boots. Now they're even better for sniping. So this is also like in touch with what these perks are used for. So I really like the majority of these changes. I think they're really good. So very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple other things. The EMD grenade, don't use it. And then the trophy system. Decrease the total number of shots fired from 3 to 2. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but what I think it means is it'll now only deflect 2 explosives rather than 3.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, there you go. I don't know if I like that, by the way. I don't play multiplayer or like ranked enough, but
yeah. I wonder too. I think I saw one tweet that was like somebody like I think they said the trophy change like wasn't good for ranked play, but I don't know. I thought that's what I read, but yeah, I have no thoughts on it really.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on. That's it. Yeah. So wow, there we go. There was zombies content, but zombies is miserable dog poop and bad, so we're not talking about it. So far so good. What do you think?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Pretty
good for multiplayer again.
Yeah. And also, content. By the way, JKN raised an interesting point, which is that in Warzone, we have a bunch of these perks, quote unquote, by default. So if that is true, do these buffs apply to Warzone as well?
I know. I mean, it makes sense. You would imagine so, but apparently they're not in the Warzone patch notes, which makes me think that's not how it works. Because you would really think if they were making big changes like that, they would put it in the Warzone patch notes, right? Because those are big changes that would impact Warzone.
I agree. And I think that's what broke Sprint to Fire, or excuse me, the tac sprint canceling reload. That's like a bug in Warzone that everyone's complaining about right now. Might not be a bug because Commando Gloves are a default perk in Warzone. And they added that on purpose to Commando Gloves, added the ability to cancel a reload by using tac sprint.
Yeah.
So
it just got bugged out when it came to Warzone.
I don't think it got bugged. I think it's working as intended in Warzone. Because right now, tac sprinting. So, but what that implies to me also is that everyone now has 10% improved sprint to fire time in Warzone. Right?
Yeah, I'm trying to find somebody that's talked about this. Like, because you would think if those changes came to Warzone, like JGod would have already talked about that, like put out a video or something, but nobody's been talking about this, which is also why I feel like it's not in Warzone.
Well, which of these perks are default in Warzone? Climbing boots are, but this change isn't relevant for that. And I think that's it. Commando gloves. I think those are the only two. I don't think assault gloves are default in Warzone. Assault gloves, rather. I don't think those are default in Warzone. So I think the only thing being overlooked is this improved sprint to fire speed by 10%. I suspect someone will test this pretty soon. But let's assume that in Warzone, everyone now has 10% better sprint to fire speed. Is that a good, bad, or negligible change in your opinion? Because it seems to me like that did happen and no one's talking about it yet, honestly.
Yeah, good. Apparently, so tac pads, commando gloves, quick grip gloves, climbing boots, and overkill. That's all there by default.
Yeah, so, okay. So yeah, just commando gloves and climbing boots, but since climbing boots didn't actually change, just commando gloves. And one of the two changes did carry over to Warzone, so I would imagine the second one did, which is improved sprint to fire speed by 10%. Now, in my opinion, that's cool, and I'll take it. However, I actually don't think that's very relevant, honestly, at all. Because sprint to fire speed in Warzone is mostly relevant for your secondary. Like the HRM formerly, for example. But the HRM sprint to fire speed before was like 95 milliseconds. So 10% faster sprint to fire speed on that, which is where sprint to fire again is going to be relevant using a sub, is going to mean your sprint to fire instead of 95 milliseconds is going to be what? 86.5 milliseconds? Which is not noticeable. It's 9.5 milliseconds faster. You're not going to really notice that at all. It would be super noticeable on like, you know, a Bruin or like a Subverter. It would be very noticeable. 10% sprint to fire speed. Because a kitted meta build of a Subverter, sprint to fire speed on that is probably like 300 milliseconds. And now it would be 270. So that's more noticeable. But also, you're not incurring a sprint to fire penalty with a Subverter very often. Although maybe you are on Rebirth and like Resurgence. because you do have to sprintifire sometimes with your primary. Actually, fairly often in Rebirth. So maybe it is kind of relevant. That's pretty interesting. I suspect if it is relevant, some big creators will start talking about it and testing it, and then we'll see. But I don't think it's game breaking, even if it is relevant. I just think it's an interesting thing to point out. So with that said, moving on to Warzone Season 3 Reloaded patch notes. We warned you, not much has changed, and that was true for multiplayer. Let's see about Warzone. So starting off here, couple little bug fix things, whatever. The weapon prestige camos, they talk about that again. This is the best patch note I've ever seen. Warzone, maps, Urzikstan, bunkers, redacted. Okay. This entire section they could have just not included. Like, what are we doing, man? So they did secret changes to the bunkers, which they've been talking about. Rebirth Island, loaded resurgence. Similar to Plunder, this resurgence variant allows players to deploy with the loadout of their choice. So if you want to grind those weapon prestige camos and you don't like playing multiplayer, this is the perfect playlist, loaded resurgence, because you'll have 100% uptime on that gun you want to grind the camo for. So pretty cool there. And a good mode to just practice like gunfights on resurgence. You'll just have your loadout right away. I think that's pretty cool. Or even like testing if something is going to be good in a gunfight. I like that. And then lockdown is back as well. So later this season, not yet. So we got the weekly playlist here. Okay. Whatever. General Resurgence Champions Quest. This is now available on 2 new maps, Fortune's Keep and Vondel. I thought it was already available on Vondel.
Well, that was Vondel BR it was available in.
Oh, you're correct.
And then also this is the same new Champions Quest from this season. It's just on those maps too.
So it's the
and
different
also,
elements and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
I assume. I'll throw this in here while I'm at it. J-God said you can now steal nukes on Big Map too, which is not in the patch notes anywhere. But that was supposed to come a long time ago. Right?
Yeah.
We all thought it was going to come a long time ago because somebody asked that, like, wasn't this a thing since Season 1 Reloaded? And J-God said it was expected, but it is now actually in the game. So that'll be interesting. I would love to see some gameplay of somebody stealing a nuke. I haven't seen anything like that yet, though.
That's going to make doing one that much harder, by the way, because that's going to incentivize people even more to come kill you than they already were. So if you thought the whole lobby was coming after you before while you're trying to do a nuke, try now.
Well, I also wonder how you steal it. I want to know what that process is. Surely it's not as easy as killing the team and just grabbing the elements, right? Like, you'd think they're going to make you do something else.
That's a good question, too, because the meta strat, like on Urzikstan, is to get an element, go to the middle of the zone, drop it, and then get the next element.
Yeah.
But if I can just pick up that element when you drop it, and it's marked on the map, then that makes that strat obviously impossible.
Yeah.
So that makes the contract really hard. You'd have to do it how you guys did it, basically. The like,
just hold on to them the whole
chimp
time.
way. Yeah. The like, yeah. 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 So they made it really hard if that's how it works. That's a good question. You're right.
Because you could always
you can steal it.
You could always go to another team's element on the map, and there was a button to stow their element, but the button never worked. So it does kind of make you think you can just simply steal them. Because, I mean, if somebody steals it, then obviously they'll be marked on the map just like you were. So somebody else could kill them and then steal it, or you'll know where they're at the whole time, you know? So maybe it is as easy as just literally grabbing the elements. I don't know.
It kind of seems that way, and that makes that contract insanely difficult, even for like pro streamers, honestly. Like, they'll be able to do it, obviously, but it'll be way harder than the strat they were using before. So I don't know. I don't care too much. I think that if it does work that way, which like you just said, it does seem like it will be, I think that's a little too hard, honestly. Even for a new contract, I think that's a little too hard.
Yeah.
But so few people are going for them anyway. I don't think the majority of the player base cares too much. And they might actually like it because they know they're never going to get a nuke themselves, but maybe they can steal one.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting. But anyway, moving on from there. This is what we've been waiting for. Wow. Rebirth Island audio improvements. Whoa. So Tanner called this to a T. Here's the first subnote. Improvements have been made to audio occlusion. That was exactly what Tanner had said after Rebirth came out, and
after playing it for 30 minutes,
right, and everyone was like, the audio is very weird. Tanner was like, I bet this is a weird occlusion issue like we had before on Big Map,
because every item before that was causing audio occlusion issues, like staplers and stuff, were probably still on that map and assets from that game's cycle at the time, basically. So that's why we were having those occlusion issues.
Yeah.
That's what I figured it was, but they didn't go into detail as to what it was. But I'm
sure that's
something
it.
Similar to that.
I'm sure you're right on that, though. That makes so much sense. And now they've said improvements have been made to audio occlusion. So, like we said, I've not played Rebirth yet since this patch, but I definitely will be. I'm almost diamond, by the way. Not even close to being hard stuck yet. I'll probably hit iridescent. I might go for top 250. I'll keep you guys posted on that. But I will be playing it a lot more. I've been having a lot of fun on Rebirth, honestly. And now it hopefully will be even more fun because I'll be able to hear people outside of my building.
Yeah, that
would make Rebirth actually a lot more fun, and maybe my friends would even have fun playing it. That
immediately
would be cool.
So much better for me if it works correctly. Yeah.
So we don't know from personal experience if this actually did make the Rebirth audio on par with Urzikstan. I would love if that was the case, because then Rebirth would be really fun, in my opinion. But I have also not seen anything from anyone else talking about this, if the improvements are real or not.
Not at all. I haven't seen a single tweet about the audio on Warzone,
which is a little worrying.
But it's probably because of all of the bugs right now, like reload still being bugged and everything. Everyone's just complaining about that, and they're more like, how is this still bugged? How did it make it to the update, etc. So I think a lot of people just aren't playing right now because of that too.
Yeah, you're right. So we'll have more for you there. With that said, I believe the audio occlusion is going to be better. I think the Rebirth audio will be better because they've been excellent with audio this year. I mean, Urzikstan audio is like nearly perfect in my opinion. I think kill streaks are too loud still. But like besides that, I think the audio is fantastic on Urzikstan.
I do too.
Something I never thought I would say. It's like super reliable too, and there are no occlusion issues. So I think they are absolutely capable of doing that on Rebirth also, and I would not be surprised if the Rebirth audio now is on par with Urzikstan, which is to say actually good. That would be insane. But I also think it's likely. They've proven themselves. So kudos to Raven, as always.
Yeah, best audio we've ever had in Warzone is in Urzikstan right now. So I agree. I think they can obviously do it. So
exactly.
I'm sure it's a lot better now.
Right. Yeah. And then also they say this: audio level adjustments have been made to the following: ascenders, parachutes, and enemy footsteps. Okay. So
wish we got some more detail there, but okay.
And then one other thing. Ascender, enemies and allies using ascenders will now make 2 distinct audio sounds. Okay. Go in reverse order here. I like this because allies did sound exactly the same as enemies, and there are a number of times recently where my teammate has been rappelling up to my roof, and I like stop what I'm doing and look at them. Because I hear them, but they sound the same as enemies.
Yeah.
So it freaks me out. So that would be nice if allies made a different sound. But the more interesting question I have is, what does audio level adjustments mean? Does that mean they're louder?
I'm assuming they're louder. Yeah, one would assume, but
it
you
could
would think
mean
they
the
would say they're
priority
louder.
changed. Yeah, why not say they're louder, right? That's one thing. So I'm a little worried about that because audio level adjustments in my mind could mean they made them louder, they made them quieter, or they changed their priority in the sound mix so that you'll hear, so that like parachutes are now a higher priority than a precision airstrike across the map, whereas before they were lower priority than a precision airstrike across the map. It could mean any of those three things or a combination, and I don't know what they did.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious what exactly this means. And I don't even know if enemy footsteps needed to have their audio like raised, honestly. I think it was the occlusion that was causing me not to hear people sometimes on Rebirth. It wasn't the
I don't know. Even inside of buildings, they seemed a lot quieter than Urzikstan, no matter what. Even if there wasn't anything like occluding the audio that you physically saw, like a wall. But I don't know.
We'll have more to say. But again, Urzikstan sounds so good that I have faith that these are all like good changes. So there you go. And then interrogation and revive sounds. Increase the audible distance and volume of interrogation and revive sounds. That's probably good as well. I didn't know interrogations made any sound at all. So
I mean, I think it's just like the sound of like you grabbing him and like the character model's coat making a sound and then like, I don't know, pulling out a knife and holding it. I think it's probably just that audio. I don't think it makes like a constant sound like reviving does per se.
Okay. But yeah.
This is probably good overall because there are a lot of times where like they throw a smoke, they could be reviving in the middle of it and you're sprinting up to it and you do not know. And then you like literally run into the guy that's on the ground being revived and you like didn't hear anything, had no clue they were there because the smoke audio is blocking any sort of audio from the revive. Right. And then also you obviously don't see them because they're in smoke. So I think that's a good change.
Keep in mind, though, they didn't say they increased the audio of these sounds. They increased the audible distance.
Yeah.
So that just means you're going to hear it from farther away. Yeah. Which still is good. I think a good change, though. Yeah. Still a good change. I like it. So there you go. So good changes so far. I like that. Next section is gameplay. New features. So we've talked about these. The heavy armor public event. Where you get like more health. Dumb. Weapon trade stations are back in. So they say weapon trade stations. Oh, never mind. Okay, yeah. So one question I have, I'm assuming the heavy armor public event won't happen in ranked. Although I'm actually not positive.
Correct. Pretty sure it doesn't. I feel like they said that on a prior blog post or something, but maybe it was just we were assuming.
Yeah. So hopefully it doesn't, obviously. On the other hand, though, weapon trade stations, I again don't know if these are going to be in ranked. I would like to see them in ranked. I don't think this would be bad for ranked. I think it would be good, actually. And I don't know if it's coming to ranked or not. And this is where you take a gun to a weapon trade station, you sacrifice the gun and you get other stuff. Plates, ammo, a different gun that's like not as good. Tacticals, lethals, whatever. And you can also get like field upgrades, streaks, self-res, all that stuff. And the quality of what you get back from the station depends on the quality of the weapon you gave them. So, yeah. I like the feature. I would like to see it in ranked. I don't think it's a huge deal if it doesn't come to ranked, but I'm curious if it did. We will report back with that. And then again, the utility box has been added. The Foresight Specialist and Redacted upgrade have all been added as well. I'm not sure we know what most of these things are, although I think, I don't know. Do you know anything about this?
No, one of the vaults or something that I think you couldn't get in before, you can get in now, so it's probably related to that. Okay.
Yeah. So, interesting. We'll see how that goes. And then some other LTMs. Okay. it says Rebirth Island limited time modes. And then they say this: variable time of day. Although most matches will remain sunny, Rebirth can now be experienced in 3 alternative different times a day: sunset, overcast, which is not a time of day, and foggy, which is also not a time of day.
Yeah.
Similar to Vondel, the time of day may change during one specific match.
The time of day doesn't change on Vondel. It's just fog. It's not time of day.
Yeah, keep an eye on smart displays to stay informed about the forecast. Okay. So I don't know why this says Rebirth Island limited time modes, and then they just talk about this. I don't know what's going on. So
yeah, hire back the other Raven community manager. This guy
you're
sucks.
right. We need 2,000 more devs for some additional clarity.
We need at least one more. Yeah.
Do we know if this is in ranked also?
I doubt it, but I can't confirm. No.
Yeah. Okay. So
dumb though, man.
Everyone's a lot of clarity on this, but
everyone's
anyway.
mad about this one. Which we knew this was coming at the start of the season. I guess nobody remembers, but we already covered this at the start of season 3, and we said immediately, why are we doing this crap? So that's not cool. But yeah, I guess that was mostly what I saw on the TL, rather than people complaining about the bugs. Is the fact that Rebirth is now going to be foggy and overcast. So that's cool. Yeah. Nobody wants it. No idea why they keep doing this.
No one wants it. And it's just a waste of dev time and resources
makes the
to
game
implement
not
it.
more interesting at all. It strictly makes it worse.
Yep.
That's very dumb.
It doesn't even give you novelty. If there's fog on the map now, I'm not oh, cool. What?
You just get mad if anything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just strictly bad.
Yeah.
And a waste of dev time to implement. So,
This is a stupid Infinity Ward feature that I'm not sure why they're continuing to use.
I agree.
Because it's like Vondel super foggy on DMZ. That was a great idea. That made total sense for DMZ. In Resurgence, though, it was always just bad. And I don't know why they're still doing this.
Exactly. Exactly.
People want to see other people in their first-person shooter games. They don't want fog to ruin the map. It also just makes everything look ugly.
Yep.
So, yeah, fire them all, actually.
Yeah, fire 2,000 more. So, adjusted features is the next section. All maps and all modes, Ascender improvements. Minor adjustments to the use range and angles for Ascenders. This change primarily helps with circumstances where Ascenders and elevators would not provide a prompt at certain angles and ranges. That's good. That could be finicky sometimes, so I like that. And then Ascenders at elevator locations will now be easier to interact with. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Rebirth Island Resurgence. High stakes public event. High stakes crates now give a utility box instead of an ammo and armor box. Okay. Medicine cabinets will now drop 1 stim instead of 2. Okay. Spy drone contract, which a lot of people have been using, even in ranked, by the way. Reduce the drone count to 7 down from 9. So it's easier because you have to kill fewer of them. Substantially reduced their health.
How could you reduce them any more? They took a few bullets to kill.
Again, yeah, easier to do still. Slightly lowered their altitude, so easier to shoot them now, and shortened the minimum and maximum spy drones distance, spawn distance from the player. So they'll also spawn closer to you. Spy drone contract is insane now, basically. They just made it way easier and closer.
It's so you can get that so fast now. You can complete that very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this, I believe it was on Patreon, our latest gold bonus episode. So if you liked the Saturday episode, as a quick reminder that we did on Rebirth Island tips and tricks, we did a corollary episode with more tips and tricks on Patreon, patreon.com/thedropshot. Spy drone contracts were one of the things we talked about. Kind of slept on, although some streamers are doing it. Do a spy drone right away on Rebirth to get a good amount of cash so you could buy a loadout super quick, because they're very easy to do and you won't really run into other players doing them. And now they are just easier. There are fewer of them. They have less health. They spawn closer to you and they're lower to the ground. So they're a bigger target, easier to shoot. I mean, do them. Yeah. Really good now. So there you go. And then biometric scanners reduce the animation time when interacting with it. Still haven't seen one, by the way, but I think it's because I play ranked. Actually, I know that's why I haven't seen one. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Warzone boot camp, I don't care.
Cool.
So the new AR, once again, the new aftermarket parts they talk about, and then some weapon adjustments. So here we've got some interesting things to talk about. Again, a lot of changes. I'm not going to read all of them, but a lot of them mirror what we talked about with multiplayer. So for ARs, a bunch of them just had their hip fire made worse, which I think is fine. The Ram 7, max damage decreased again to 28 from 32. And then
Dude, that's got to kill so slow now. Oh my God.
Other damages and damage ranges were also nerfed, and the hip fire spread was also made worse. This gun, in my opinion, was not worth using before this patch, even close. Now it's Giga Omega not worth using. Obviously. Stop using it. It's done. It's over. Use a different gun, done. Please. Yeah. One time. So there's one big change. But if you've still been on the Ram 7, it's completely dog poop now. Stop. MCW. Mid damage increased to 24 from 23. Minimum damage, so at your farthest damage range, increased to 20, up from 18. And max damage range increased to 30 meters from 26 meters. That's pretty interesting. I don't know if it's good now, and I don't think it would be on Rebirth, but on Urzikstan, this might be relevant now, because the MCW, it's never going to have the fastest time to kill, but it's supposed to be like the analog to the Kilo. It's the gun that doesn't have any recoil, so you can hit every bullet at any range, but it's not going to have the fastest on paper time to kill. However, now it has a faster time to kill at relevant damage ranges too, namely mid and minimum damage ranges. You're doing more damage in those ranges now. That is a pretty big buff, potentially. I haven't seen or looked at anything yet. A lot of people are not like playing Urzikstan right now, so which is where this would be relevant. But if you do, sucks. I would be curious to see what it looks like. It sucks? Tell me more.
I mean, I don't even know if True Game Data is updated yet. I assume it is.
You should be able to read in the table
terrible.
If it says how much damage it does, right? Doesn't it say that somewhere?
I could. I don't ever go to that. I don't even know where to find that really. I think it's updated though. Yeah, because it has the new gun. So it has to be updated, yeah. It doesn't even seem like it's been buffed. It still kills slower than everything at the longest range. It kills slower than a RAM at long range. So yeah,
okay, then it's still terrible then.
And it's also always been really bad up close, and it still is. Like the Subverter at 20 meters kills in like 600 milliseconds. The MCW 750. So it's bad. Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah. I would like to see it relevant.
I don't know why they just buff the hell out of it. I mean, just make it overpowered at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, probably not worth using then.
Yeah, no.
I think there are enough ARs that kill faster that are easy enough to control the recoil on, like the SVA, to where, yeah, I don't think this is super relevant. And the SVA did not get nerfed besides its hip fire, which doesn't really matter, by the way. So, the FR556, don't use it.
They did a million things to it, but yeah, don't use it.
Yeah, just don't use it. M13B from MW2 was also buffed. No, it wasn't. Never mind. It was changed. Max damage is 24 instead of 23, so your first damage range. Headshot multi was decreased to 1.4 from 1.5, but upper torso, arms, and hand modifier were also all increased from 1.0 or from 1.1 to 1.2x, which is pretty big. Overall, I'd say it's a buff. The only nerf is the headshot multi. I don't know if that makes it relevant, but it might be on Rebirth. I don't know. I mean, max damage depends on how long that first damage range is, especially with attachments. But this is a zippy little sucker. And now it's doing 1 more damage up close, which is interesting. And it's got better multipliers. Like arms and hand are now doing 1.2 damage instead of 1.0. So that's actually like a big damage buff if you're hitting those areas. And then upper torso is 1.2 instead of 1.1, which is primarily what you're going to be shooting. Upper torso and arms. So this might be relevant on Rebirth now. I don't know, but something to look into, I would say. And then the Tempest Razorback was buffed as well. Near mid damage 26 from 22. Minimum damage 22 from 18. So maybe relevant, probably not.
Wow.
Avancer near mid damage.
That's a big buff, actually.
It's I think if its max damage was increased in any way, that would be a lot more substantial.
It's actually really good if you hit headshots. Because I feel like I haven't used the M13 in a while, but the M13 I remember.
Or the M13?
Well, I'm talking about both, but
okay.
Like because you were just talking about the M13, and that one, from what I remember from MW2, that gun felt like trash. I feel like it bounced a lot. But we've tried the Tempest Razorback recently, and it's pretty controllable now in this game. If you hit a headshot, though, it's very fast, actually. It's like the fastest killing gun at range along with the SVA, and it's like the fastest killing up close along with the SVA if you mix in headshots.
Okay.
Interesting.
That is interesting, actually.
And I feel like that's more controllable than the M13 from what I remember.
Okay. Yeah. The big downside, though, is the mag size and the fire rate. You chew through mags quick, the Razorback.
Yeah.
But yeah, something to look for as well then. That's interesting. And then the Avancer was buffed as well. Near mid, and minimum damage were increased by amounts. Still probably not worth using. Not 100% on that, though.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Battle rifles. The Subverter was nerfed. Minimum damage 25 from 28. That's a pretty big deal for Urzikstan. Max damage range decreased to 20 from 22 meters. That's not a big deal. But that minimum damage decrease is a big deal. That's a lot.
It's still like it's still really fast at long range though. Yeah. It's still pretty much the fastest like it was before.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I thought it'd be a lot worse, but
the gap's just narrower basically.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So that's good. Not gutted, but nerfed a little bit. So there you go. MTZ 762 was changed slightly. EU ADS slower. And then that's it. And then SMGs. The HRM9. Oh boy, what'd they do? Increased sprint to fire time by 500%. Just kidding. Max damage decreased to 28 from 31. Uh-oh. A substantial nerf finally. Near mid damage decreased, mid damage decreased, and max damage range decreased to 10.4 from 11.3 meters. The big thing there is that, and mostly max damage, which is mostly where you're hitting with the HRM, was decreased from 31 to 28 damage. So that's probably a tremendously impactful nerf. And that's what I've also been seeing on the TL, is that this gun is chalked now.
Definitely not as good, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
If it was between that and like the Striker 9 before, the Striker 9 is just absolutely a lot better now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, pour one out for the HRM. I don't think it's going to be meta ever again. It had its time, a long time, since launch until now, basically. But it's done. So yeah, I think a lot of people, the alternative is the Striker or Striker 9 or both. I get those mixed up for obvious
reasons. It's the Striker
reasons.
9.
It's the Striker 9. Okay, yeah.
And
so
I'm trying to look for what's the new gun with
that.
the conversion kit everyone's running. Is it the DG58? What is it?
With the conversion kit. The BP-50
There's a new
with the submachine gun thing?
No. There's a new broken gun. I think it's this. Let me look at this gun. Yeah, so this is the current SMG meta. It's the DG58, which is an LMG. It's an LMG, and there's a conversion kit. I don't think this is in the patch notes. I haven't seen it at all, so I don't know why all of a sudden this is so good. Again, haven't been paying too much attention, but there's a conversion kit that basically turns it into an SMG, increases the fire rate. That up close now, up to 20 meters, is killing faster than the HRM ever did.
Wow.
From 0 to 20 meters, it kills at 562 milliseconds. So
wow.
562, the Striker 9, 630, the HRM's now 680. So this is the current broken gun that everyone is running right now.
Okay.
That's very good.
I would expect that to get nerfed soon.
Probably, and then it's going to go to the Striker 9, I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would assume, yeah. And it's also an LMG, so you probably have to use double dip on your AR ammo, which is annoying. But yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's probably right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes me not want to use it. They need to change that, because otherwise I would find it really fun and interesting to use that LMG conversion kit.
It also only has a 40 round mag, I guess. I don't know how the fire rate is, since I haven't tried it. Fire rate is 850 RPM.
Solid.
That's not much damage per mag though for 40 rounds, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Apparently.
And how fast does it reload too is another question. Yeah, a lot of questions.
I don't know.
I don't think it's going to matter that much, because again, yeah, I expect it to be nerfed pretty soon. They don't love having things like that be meta. So anyway, HRM's chalked. Some other changes, none of which I'm going to get into super detail on, except for this, the Striker, which has been buffed. Minimum damage 28 from 23, doesn't really matter. Mid damage range increased to 35 meters from 30 meters. That's kind of relevant, because that's like your second damage range.
I love the minimum damage range, because this was like the first SMG that you and I used a lot, and so did quite a few other people when this game launched.
Yeah.
Because it was really good at long range. So now it's just even better at long range, because this one we would throw a suppressor on and a barrel, and you would build it like a sniper support gun. So it may be back for us in that way.
For a little sniper support, yeah.
Because I mean, I was still half the time just running an HRM with my Stalker. So now I might be using the Striker 45. Actually, I'll have to take a look at that, see how that's looking at longer ranges.
I mean, minimum damage from 23 to 28. It sounds huge.
Yeah,
that's a lot more damage. So yeah, maybe you might be onto something there. So there you go. So anyway, a couple shotgun changes that don't matter. The DG58 LMG had its multipliers increased. That's probably why that conversion kit is now disgusting. It's because the upper torso, arms, hands, and lower torso modifiers all went from 1.0 to 1.1. So they're all doing 10% more damage on areas you're shooting always, basically, with an SMG. So yeah, that's probably what's going on there. So they're probably going to nerf the conversion kit itself. So then the question is, how is a normal DG58 without the conversion kit as like a primary? Because this was really good on launch, actually. This was, I don't know if it was ever like meta necessarily, but when the game first came out, I would say this was one of the top 3 in terms of like damage range, mag size, handling, and recoil control. The DG58 was one of the really top 3 good long range options, like on launch. Jake and I used it quite a bit.
I was going to say, I don't remember.
Really liked it.
I remember Jake using it a lot, but I felt like nobody actually used it besides like him.
I used it a lot as well.
Was that the one he used a lot? Because it has a 100 round drum you could throw on, right?
Yeah,
and it was like a quick, because it's like a mag, but that was an option. It's that gun. Okay, yeah. Yeah, because it defaults with the 60, correct?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
That was another thing that was nice.
Yeah, well, maybe that is good then. Yeah, I haven't seen anything about that, but that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think I have seen some people talking about it, But once you brought up the conversion kit, I assumed that was why, but maybe not. So this could be the new long range option for like Urzikstan, yeah. And maybe even on Resurgence, honestly, on Rebirth. I'd have to use it again and see how the handling is. But like you mentioned, it has a default 60 round mag, so if you think it handles too slow, well, you've got a free attachment slot to put on like an ADS improvement attachment, like an ADS stock or ADS rear grip or something, which might help counteract that. But those are big buffs, like 10% more damage to upper torso, arms, hands, and lower torso. That's always where you're shooting at long range. So it basically just does 10% more damage now, basically. So that's pretty nasty. And I loved using this gun. So yeah, we'll keep you guys posted, obviously, on how the meta settles. The Bruin Mark 9 was nerfed. Okay. And then the Eradicator decreased sprint to fire time to 190 milliseconds from 250. That's really big. And at ADS is 10 milliseconds faster, which is not big. So, okay. There you go. And then this is making the rounds on Twitter as well. I'm not really sure why, honestly, but sniper rifles. The Stalker. Decreased bullet velocity to 790 meters per second from 860 meters per second. That's actually pretty big. I don't think it makes it unusable by any means, though, especially because the Stalker wasn't one-shot killing and isn't one-shot killing very far away anyway. Honestly, I don't imagine this being super relevant, frankly, because you're also using velocity attachments. So
yeah, so it's still going to be around 1,000. Should be. Yeah,
that's what it seems like to me. So I don't think that's that big of a deal, although a lot of people on Twitter are crying about it. I'll also say I don't think that's necessary. I don't think it needs a reduction to its bullet velocity at all. I don't think it's like overpowered too fast velocity right now by any means. But
especially if we're actually getting like big map ranked next season, where snipers would just be probably not have the ability to one shot anyways, this kind of makes these changes dumb, I think.
Yeah, they're super unnecessary, but I don't think they ruin snipers either.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
That's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, this didn't need to happen. The Cat AMR also had its velocity reduced 660 to 620. Again, it's not necessary at all, but not very relevant. Actually, more relevant.
I think that is, yeah, because that number is already getting pretty low, so now that's even lower, yeah.
True, and unlike the Stalker, this can one-shot at any range, so you probably are shooting people like pretty far away, where bullet velocity matters a lot more. So I think it's a lot worse to do this to a Cat than a Stalker. So yeah,
I think I'm okay with it though. I've kind of already gotten to the point in this game where I'm already done with the one-shot any range snipers. So if they're making it harder to use, I think that's better. It's so annoying fighting a team and just getting third party from some guy 150 meters away who shoots me. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people agree with you, man.
I kind of just wish all the snipers had a cap to the one-shot range, but this is, I think, better for that. I think this will please a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. And then the Moors as well. ADS is a tiny bit slower. Also had its velocity reduced from 960 to 900. Okay. And then the anti-material slug ammo has increased bullet velocity penalty 20% instead of 15%. So a lot less velocity if you're using that. Well, not a lot less, but less. So don't really know how relevant that is either. But there you go. And all of this isn't really going to matter once we get ranked anyway, if you're a ranked player, because they're not going to be able to one-hit kill regardless. So moving on.
Yeah.
Handguns. On principle, I'm not reading any of these except for the Stinger, because some people do use this akimbo. Upper torso modifier increased to 1.1 from 1.0. Okay, that makes them better. And increased movement speed to 5.9 meters per second instead of 5.7. That's a really big deal for akimbo guns, especially because you need to be able to move up close to people. So the faster you move, obviously the easier that becomes. So that's pretty interesting. Most people have not been using the akimbo stingers anyway, but some people have been, like Metaphor, and now they're even better. A lot better, I would say, especially that upper torso modifier. So keep your eyes out for that. If you're an akimbo enjoyer, you might want to try that now. So there you go. And then that's pretty much it. And that's it for weapon balance. So the big takeaway here, I think there are two. Number one, HRM is out. And then number two is the DG58 might be in as the long range option. Those are my big takeaways. And then there are some investigations that I think need to happen with respect to the M13 and the Razorback. I think those are all the big ticket items for the weapon balance for Warzone.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to do some investigation, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brainstorm's going to go crazy on the Patreon because I'll be trying all of these and reporting back. But also we're going to learn a lot just as time goes on and people are trying them themselves in the community. So there you go. Moving on. Loadout. Fortune's Keep. Resurgence. The Bunker Buster. Don't play Fortune's Keep. Also, it was nerfed. Okay. Don't play Fortune's Keep. UI. Ranked play restrictions. Updated menu to provide additional clarity for restricted weapons in ranked play. Okay. Champions Quest. We've added a prompt to notify players who attempt to leave a match that a Champions Quest objective is in progress and available to intercept. Okay. Bunker Buster minimap improvements, whatever. End of match flow. After a match ends, players will be returned to the selected playlist mode rather than the playlist select menu. That's fantastic. Big. Yeah, that really pissed me off. I would have to dig through your trash UI to find what I was playing every single time I win a game, which was every game. That was very annoying, so I like that a lot. And then perk descriptions. Additional info has been added to some, so that's good too. Okay, nothing huge there. And then lastly, some bug fixes. Let's see if any of them are relevant. Fixed an issue causing the in-game stats tab to show incorrect stats at the end of the match. I did notice that, so that's cool.
Oh, that's why Nixta was getting 62 kills and 5,000 damage.
yeah, certainly. That's
fixed an issue that prevented UAVs and counter UAVs from being used while sitting in the passenger seat. Didn't they just say this was fixed like a week ago or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, they sure did. So okay. I don't know.
So maybe now it's actually
works
fixed.
Now. Yeah. So, and that's it. So, yeah, as promised, I told you guys, not much with this season reloaded.
However, reloaded.
Overall, I would say, yeah, we got absolutely nothing for Urzikstan.
We got
Didn't even get that much for Rebirth, by the way, to be fair. Everyone's complaining, and I'm in this camp, that Urzikstan got nothing with Season 3 Reloaded. But Rebirth didn't really either. No one got anything. It was kind of just a big weapon balance update, which I think on that point was good. The HRM did need to be nerfed, honestly. So having the SMG meta opened up a little bit is pretty interesting. But also I'm a little confused that they didn't touch the SVA. The only thing they did to it was reduce the hip fire, which no one cares about.
Maybe they want that to be meta. That could be it.
I am curious if that's still going to be like the best gun.
It probably is. That's what most of the tweets I'm seeing are saying. Yeah, the SVA is for sure the long range option now.
They've also been using the Ram 7 for like 2 months too long after it's been not good though. So I am curious about some of those other guns.
And that was kind of wild to me because those guys are so good that they could use a lot more difficult guns that kill a lot faster, and they were still using the Ram.
Yeah.
That was a little weird to me.
Yeah.
But again, they don't know what they're doing. They're so much better than everyone else. They don't even realize that the gun they're using is awful. Like they actually don't. But yeah, shout out to Warzone maps, Urzikstan bunkers redacted for that change.
Yeah, that was the Urzikstan
Excited
change.
for that. Yeah,
totally. Huge. So anyway, that's it. I obviously, again, the most interesting part of this whole patch was the weapon balance changes, and I am excited to try some of those long range options. But we will, as I said, keep you guys posted on where the meta lies and why. And we will try some guns that, you know, Biffle doesn't need to try. So yeah, there you go. And then also Call of Duty has tweeted, they tweeted yesterday, we're aware of an issue causing auto tac sprint to interrupt attempts to reload a weapon. So we already talked about this, but they changed commando gloves to have this functionality in multiplayer. Obviously that carried over to Warzone. People are not happy about it. So they're looking into it. I'm sure everyone's bitching about this. I'm sure this is going to be fixed very soon. So I would stay away for now if it's annoying you that much, because I think they're going to fix it like inside of 48 hours.
It's got to be fixed today, right? I mean, it has to be.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. So there you go. And then that's it. So moving on, a couple news items here. Not too much to go over. Data miners have found that the STG-44, the Kar98K, and the SPAS-12 are returning in MW3 and Warzone at some point. I don't care.
It's supposed to be next season. Yeah, it's supposed to be next season, and the Kar98 is going to one-shot to like 20 meters, and it's going to have velocity of 550, so if you're excited for it, just stop. Just, you know, realize it's going to be very bad. Or they're nerfing all the snipers now because the Kar98 is going to come out. They're going to make 4 billion bundles for it.
Yeah, that's possible.
And it's going to one-shot at any range with 2,500 velocity and a 20-round magazine now they've added to it. So
and it's going to have no idle sway. And instead of 7.62 rounds, it's going to fire rockets. That is possible. Yeah. So anyway, rockets. Yeah. So that's the STG-44 is the biggest. What? I mean, who cares? Who wants this? You're not even getting the nostalgia kids. Like the STG-44.
It does have nice irons. It does have nice irons if they make the gun meta.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah. It's a full auto gun. Like, I don't know. From World War II. What are we doing? Anyway, whatever. And then the SPAS-12, that might be interesting. Very high fire rate, semi-auto shotgun. Probably won't be good in Warzone, but maybe it will be. We'll see. So that's kind of it there. And then the rest of this stuff is, oh boy, yeah. Call of Duty 2024 from Treyarch is rumored to be set in the Gulf War, which we've talked about before. Looks like the game will have an orange color scheme. What do you think the name will be? And then there have been some other like leaks and info coming out. So basically there's like an Xbox game show, and Call of Duty is going to be revealing their next game right after that, immediately following the Xbox Games Showcase. And they leaked an image of like an orange little wolf logo. And then there's some stuff that is blacked out on the image. And the things that are blacked out are Call of Duty, Black Ops, and the Activision logo. And it looks like it's going to, in fact, be called Black Ops 6. Okay. And this is expected to launch in late October per The Verge. I don't know who that is. And The Verge also said their sources have confirmed the direct will be a deep dive into this fall's Call of Duty game. It won't be. It's not going to be a deep dive.
It won't be a deep dive at all.
It will not be a deep. It might be a deep dive into the setting and the lore. It will not be a deep dive into anything you guys care about.
Well, we are seeing...
Shut up.
This is the first year Microsoft has ownership, so maybe they are making some sort of changes to how it's revealed. It's possible.
It's possible. Yeah, for sure. doubt it.
Because they've never described it that way as a deep dive. It's always just been like, there's going to be a trailer.
Well, it also wasn't Call of Duty that described it as a deep dive. It was The Verge, who say their sources have said it's a deep dive. I mean, you could be right.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
I would like that, but I imagine what deep dive means is like the setting, the Gulf War. There's going to be a really cool, extremely well-made cinematic trailer for it. And then you'll see like one frame of a new gun model that they'll be using, and people will dissect it ad nauseum. And then a lot of like lore info, which is cool if you're into the lore. We just aren't. So I don't think this is going to be a deep dive into any kind of mechanic or anything like that. But people are buzzing about Black Ops 6 being the confirmed title. I guess this is a big deal to some people. I don't know why. Okay. I mean, it's a Treyarch game, it's just set in the Gulf War. We already knew that. So like,
yeah, I think it's just a little excitement starting for the next game, but
yeah,
it's kind of been interesting to see over the years of us doing the pod how the reveal for the next game, how people feel about that. Nobody's talking about this, or they haven't been talking about Gulf War much because they're enjoying the game. And then there are other times like, I mean, I don't know. I guess I feel like during MW 19, the reveal for the next game after MW 19, a lot of people were asking for post Vanguard too. Like there was a lot more excitement based around the next game.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of seems to be like people are interested because a lot of people love Treyarch, of course, but it's not like, oh, I need the next Call of Duty game now.
Yeah.
Because this is the best multiplayer we've
had. That's true.
I actually don't know the last multiplayer COD that was as good as this one. It's been a while, in my opinion. I mean, surely the last 4 or 5.
Unironically, for me, I never played any of the jetpack ones, so
yeah, it's just had too much hate because of people calling it like a DLC. But look how well it's worked for them. Look how much content they've been able to add.
Yeah.
So much better than Vanguard, MW 19, certainly MW 2, Cold War, in my opinion. But yeah, I think it's really good.
Yeah. So,
Gray Zone.
Stop. Another thing, again, it's expected to launch in late October, so that'd be a little earlier than we've been getting games lately, by the way. And that's nice for Warzone players because the earlier the game launches, the earlier the integration happens, and the earlier the integration happens, the more time between the Warzone integration and Christmas break, which means the more time for them to make sure the game works before they all leave for 2 months for their Christmas break. So that's also good. Early releases are good. Every week counts. So late October, it's only like a week or two, probably, if true, earlier than usual COD releases, which is like early November. But that is relevant for Warzone gamers.
Yeah, when was it last year? November 10th last year, and then I feel like one of them came out early October one time, didn't it?
No.
Like recently?
No.
MW 2 was late October. I thought Cold War came out like October 5th or something super early.
No.
No, it was November 13th. It was late, actually.
Yeah.
Stay humble.
Well, last point. I can't not bring this up, of course. XDefiant has been officially confirmed to be releasing on May 21st.
Will be buying.
On all
Is
systems.
It free?
PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. So we got a release date, and it's soon, by the way. It's this month, May 21st. So I will absolutely be talking about that again once it releases, and when it dies also the week after that. Stay humble.
I already said it. I'm not saying it again.